Now it's time to work toffee into a dessert. You are going to love my banana toffee cheesecake, layer upon layer of toffee flavor. And I start with the base. I'm making a toffee shortbread crust. I have 6 tablespoons of butter in my bowl, and I'm going to add to that a 1/4 cup of demerara sugar. I'll just cream this with my butter until smooth. Add 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. While I'm here, I'll get a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And the last thing to add is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. That's part of what makes a shortbread itself so tender. So I just combine this, and it'll just basically look like a cookie dough. Now that that's blended, I can put it in my pan. This is a 9-inch springform pan with a latch on it. I've lightly greased the bottom and sides of the pan, and now I'll put in that shortbread base. You will find it's a bit sticky, so all I do is dip my fingers in flour, and then I press it in an even level layer in the bottom of the pan. I'll pop this in the oven, which I've heated to 300, and it takes 30 minutes to bake. And here's a crust baked and cooled completely, so it's ready to be filled. So the next component is the banana toffee part. So the first thing I need to do is take 6 tablespoons of butter and start melting that over high heat. And once the butter starts melting, then I can add 3/4 of a cup of demerara sugar. So I'll give this a little stir and wait until it's bubbling. Once you add a tablespoon of lemon juice, that helps the sugar dissolve and really turns this into a toffee sauce. And now I keep this on high heat, and I add a bit of cinnamon, up to 1/2 teaspoon. And as it starts to return to a simmer, I slice in 3 ripe bananas. It is important for this recipe to use very ripe bananas. They're at their sweetest, and they have the strongest banana flavor. I will be pureeing this combination, so it doesn't have to look pretty. I'll just give this a stir, let that warm toffee sauce really coat the bananas. I'll let it cool a little bit, but it doesn't have to be at room temperature to work with. So now I can go to the cheesecake. I have 2 packages of cream cheese, well blended. As I'm mixing, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Next, I'll measure in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And then, before I start the mixer, I'm going to measure out 1/2 cup of whipping cream. But I'll start the mixer and add it as I'm blending. Add my tablespoon of vanilla. I'm gonna break my eggs into the dish so I can add them gradually, but on low speed. I'll add those eggs one at a time. And the next ingredient to add, 1/2 cup of toffee bits. But let's not forget about those bananas. Once pureed into the toffee sauce, well, that banana flavor gets throughout the cheesecake and it stays nice and tender. Now to puree quickly. Now I'll add this into my cheesecake batter and give it a good stir. This foil isn't for the top of the cheesecake, but actually to wrap the base of the pan because I have to put it in a water bath. A cheesecake batter like this that is so fluid is really like baking a custard, so it needs a gentle heat treatment. And a water bath or bain-marie does that. There we go. And I'll carry this over to my roasting pan. And I've got enough space to pour some boiling water around the outside of it. Now this is ready for the oven, which is still at 300 degrees, and this takes 50 minutes to bake. So after the 50 minutes, I turn off the oven, I open the oven door, the oven gradually cools, and that's a key to success for a cheesecake that has no crack in the middle. Okay. Now, carefully lift this out. And I'll pull this out of the water because that's the next step in cooling it. And now what's important, that I let it cool completely before I put it in the fridge. Then you let it chill for a minimum of 6 hours. So now that I have a cheesecake with a toffee shortbread base and that banana toffee cheesecake filling with the toffee bits, you know what this cheesecake needs? More toffee. And that's easy enough to make. I'm starting with 1/2 cup of demerara sugar. I'll also pour in 1/2 cup of whipping cream. And I'll also add in 1/4 cup of butter and 1/4 cup of maple syrup. I'm going to switch to a whisk and bring this up to high heat. Now for this toffee layer, I'm cooking this mixture until it's 229. It only takes about 3 minutes from the point when it starts to boil. And now that I've hit 229, I'll take it off the heat and I'll add my 1/4 teaspoon of salt and vanilla. Quick whisk in. And now, of course, because it's still bubbling and so hot, I don't want to pour it right on top of the cheesecake quite yet. To help cool it down, I'll transfer it to a measuring cup. So while that cools a little bit, I'm gonna work on some decoration to put on top of the cheesecake. First, I'm gonna caramelize some banana. All right, I'm gonna slice some banana into some angled slices. And I'm going to put these on just the bottom of a tart tin. Now what I do is I sprinkle a little sugar on the surface of each banana slice, and now use a butane torch to caramelize the bananas. And I'll just set these aside. Let's check on that toffee sauce. All right, yes, I can see it's cooled down, starting to thicken up. And once it goes on to the cold cheesecake, it'll also start setting. What I like to do is slowly pool it right in the center and let the toffee sauce go to the outer edges. It'll probably stop close to the edges, and if you want, you can just coax it a little with an offset spatula around the edge. There we go. There, we got some nice drip action there. Pop this in the fridge. It only takes a little while to set, but I do like to give it some chill time before I decorate it. So I have my caramelized bananas, a bit of sweetened whipped cream, and that delicious butter crunch toffee. I'm just gonna lay on the banana slices, not in an orderly fashion, but just a scatter along one angle of the cheesecake. Now, a couple dots of whipped cream here and there. And just arrange the butter crunch toffee to invite you to take a look and check out all these toffee layers. And wowie zowie, there it is. A lovely bit of decor, but you don't hide all of that gorgeous toffee layer. Well, toffee layers, from the toffee shortbread base to the banana toffee filling, right to the toffee topping, and topping it all off with the butter crunch. It's unbelievable.